Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. You're tuned in to LA Talk Live, where we're more than just talk.
Hello, this is Tika Lark Fleming, and this is the MPC presents the Black Grrrl Show for October 30th, Halloween. Well, it's almost Halloween, so I'm ready. We have a great show today. We have Lonnie Millsap and Skyra Martinez. But before we get to our guests, I'm going to do the breaking the table. Today's topic is voting, because voting is important. Voting is important not because of who will win, but because politicians and people with money need to know that you might matter. So your vote is even more powerful than you think. You think your vote only matters if the person you wins or the policy that you want wins? No, that's a happy side effect. That's all smoke and mirrors to distract you. For years, people think that voting is about who wins. Yes, who wins matters, but when you're voting, you're telling the politicians and the corporations that you're paying attention. That, at the bare minimum, they are going to have to pretend to treat you and your community with respect. I really don't care who you vote for, because I don't want you voting with this idea that the people who you vote for will change your life. You will change your life. Regardless of who wins, you still control them. They represent you, and you have a say in what they do, regardless of if you vote for them or you voted for the other person. I want you to vote because it needs to be documented that black people vote. We need to vote in large numbers because that's the only way black politicians will pay attention. The federal government will pay attention and corporations will pay attention. If you do not vote, you make your community persona non grata. Political consultants, marketers look and see where people come out and vote. And they don't care if you voted Republican, Democrat, left, communist. They don't care. What they look at is, do you vote? Voting means they need to make policies that might sway you to vote for them. But if you don't vote, then you don't matter. If you don't vote, you become only valuable for grant funding. That means all they need to do is put up a health fair and make you sign a piece of paper, and that's it. You not voting turns you into a tool. Vote and then complain. Vote and know these politicians are your representatives. They are not more valuable than you. They do not have higher status than you. Don't call them sir. Don't call them ma'am. Don't capitalize their titles. They are nothing but representatives of your wishes. We are a democracy, and part of a democracy is voting. And part two of democracy is not kissing the ass of someone just because they are a mayor or a congressperson. You will never see a politician on my show. I will talk about politics. I will critique politicians, but I don't give a damn what they think, because their job is to push forward the ideas that we have created by us, not pushing an agenda of corporate America, the Bible, or any other personal pet project that they have. I hope my writings, my show, make you want to vote. I hope you do not get discouraged. The U.S. is us. We have power to change the course of this country. Change is possible if you want it. Remember to vote, because voting scares politicians and the rich more than anything else. And radical friends, you vote too, because a revolution isn't happening unless the rich are pushed to do something drastic, and voting is drastic to them. You can't vote wrong if you're voting for a revolution. So that was breaking the table, and I hope that you guys remember to vote November 4th. Get your ballots. I'll put that up there. And before I go to my next guest, I'm going to say that we have, on November 2nd, we are showing Repass by Ray Shaw at Cielo Studios on November 2nd. So I really hope that you guys are able to show up to that. And again, but remember to vote, and we'll be back with Lonnie in about 60 seconds. Thanks.
Strength we need again. Now it's streaming through the street, whole world over. It's bleeding hearts and minds of will, but it's no wonder. Say no mystery. Just a hard black rain.
Hello, we We are back with the Black Girl Show on LA Talk Live. You can also catch us on iTunes R&B, Radio 365, and LA Talk Live, the actual website. But our next guest is Lonnie Millsap. Lonnie was born in LA, and he's a cartoonist. He likes most artists. He began drawing early in life, even though I don't know if that's how most artists start. But okay, his influences are Matt Groening and Gahan Wilson. So, who's your favorite cartoonist, Lonnie?
My favorite cartoonist?
Yes.
A guy named Joe Martin.
Okay.
When I was younger.
Okay.
Yeah, he inspired sort of my sense of humor, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Not the art so much,
mm-hmm.
but
yeah. Remember to get close to the mic so we can all hear you.
Okay.
Okay, unless you can draw us.
Is that better?
That's better. Yeah. So how long you been drawing? Because you said early in life. How early is early? 6 months old?
I think I always drew. I think probably really around 4th or 5th grade.
Mm-hmm.
It started looking like stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I used to get in trouble before that for drawing with friends that I had back then.
Okay.
But then, I think I got my first Charlie Brown book maybe in 5th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to start drawing all those characters back then. And I think ever since then is when I started to draw.
Okay, well, you know what's so interesting about you, Lonnie? You have like this mix, this combination where you're kind of like a 1940s style humor and kind of like underground comics in regards to like that genre. I mean, is there a certain genre that you follow in regards to your cartoons, or?
I try to follow whatever I think is funny.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that tends to be underground because they're a little more uninhibited
mm-hmm.
or less inhibited.
Yeah.
And so they'll just draw whatever,
mm-hmm.
and it tends to be pretty funny. And, I try to remember that when I draw, just to sort of draw what I want and not play to the audience and let the audience find me.
So you don't care about us?
No. I care about what can make someone laugh, and I'm hoping that what makes me laugh makes them laugh.
Okay, yeah, because your comics are pretty funny. And let's look at some of your, what's this right here? It says, what's that? My washcloth stinks. Why did you pick this title for this?
I picked that title and put the skunks on the book and in the cartoon just because of the idea of how absurd it would be that skunks would even be worried about the idea of something smelling.
That's funny. I like the unicorn here.
Oh,
that's an inside joke. No one's going to really get it except for a few people. The unicorn joke. So, I mean, you're a bit different than a lot of Black cartoonists in regards to you're not as, I guess you wouldn't say you're not as political. I mean, do you agree with that, or?
I do.
Uh-huh.
I think in a way I sort of have my own politics about it, being a Black cartoonist and having Black cartoon characters for the most part, sort of, reflecting me without really addressing it.
Mm-hmm,
mm-hmm. I think, I have sort of a wider audience.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they know that they're looking at a cartoon by, with a Black character or not. I don't think it really matters as much, but I think that if I addressed it all the time, it would turn it into something else. So, I just wanted people to know that people can do what I do, use whatever color characters you want, and just as long as it's funny, everyone's going to like it.
And I think the thing is that, it almost kind of is political, because to have Black cartoon characters without going, they're Black, because it's not like people who are Black, like we go around every day like, guess what, I'm Black today. So, I mean, that is kind of a political act, because you don't have to keep...
It's a little
like,
subversive.
Yeah, it's like a little subversive, like people are like, oh, okay, like, oh, yeah. So it is kind of, I mean, I think you kind of are political, even though you're not, because I think that in a way that's probably more irritating to people, that you're not acknowledging it.
It could be to a certain group of people.
Yeah,
but they haven't come after me or anything.
They haven't come after you or anything like that. Not yet.
Not until
yet.
After today.
Okay. So, were your characters always Black, or were they? I mean, that's how you always when you were a little kid and you were drawing cartoons. Were you drawing like little Black kids, or were you drawing like?
I was just drawing pictures then, but I didn't. I made a conscious effort to make them Black at a certain point.
Okay.
And for people who go through the books, they'll realize that they look like me.
Yeah.
I think all that started in college
Yeah.
where the character started looking like me, and I was like, well,
Yeah.
you know, I'm black. It needs to be black.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah. So I mean, are these people? Is this from your real life? Is your real life this funny, or is this? I mean, like, did a unicorn actually stab you in real life, or is this?
One day, I was on the way to the airport, and actually a unicorn, just
Yeah.
pierced the side of my car.
Yeah, yeah,
And,
yeah.
no, you know, there's some of them have a bit of truth in them. You know, you could probably see my real feelings towards certain things in certain cartoons, but it's sort of a cross section of stuff. I like to maybe wordplay a little bit, but without doing puns. You know,
Okay.
I try to be sort of intelligent in what I do, even though I don't sound like it when I speak.
You sound pretty intelligent to me. So, I see, is Comic-Con? You've been to Comic-Con, right? Is
I've
it
been
like
to Comic-Con, yeah. Hopefully this will be my 4th year.
your 4th year at Comic-Con.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is Comic-Con getting more diverse? Are there black people there? Are there Latinos there? Are there women there? Is it like a certain, like, you know, age group of guys? I mean, you know, if I went there, like, what would happen?
I don't know, you know, since I don't have a large sample of years.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't know how it was before. My experience is that it's fairly diverse.
Okay.
But the joke was that, you know, I have a friend named Keith Knight who's a cartoonist. And you know, I shared his table like 4 years ago, and everybody thought I was him just because I was black, like when he walked away from the table. So because I was the black guy at Comic-Con.
Oh, wow.
But
Because you guys don't look anything alike.
yeah, we don't. He's way funnier too. But for, you know, there's a sense of diversity there and acceptance,
Yeah.
if anything. You know, if we're not clearly not the majority there, but people are pretty friendly and sort of open there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I noticed that. Oh, that's one thing I was going to bring up. You know, I know that you and Keith and like Ken Tanaka and you guys kind of like are all kind of like buddies in regards to your whole cartooning thing. And that's,
We're the Culver City Cartoonist Collective.
oh, the Culver City Cartoons. Okay.
Yes.
And I have to say, for artists, so often I do not see us working together, especially like, you know, people. Okay, it's actually not true. Actually, I do work a lot. I do work well with people. I'll say that there is kind of like this idea that, oh, black people don't work together, blah, 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 blah. And with you, that's kind of like not necessarily true. Like, you guys work together. So, you know, how do you guys make it work so that, you know, people
We do,
know?
you know, like I said, this whole trip so far has been about 4 years, you know, and, you know, all the cartoonists that I met, you know, no matter who, tend to be pretty sharing and friendly, you know, and helpful. So there's a different vibe with cartoonists than maybe artists or animators or actors and stuff like that. It seems like they're all sort of you know, pulling for each other. That's been my experience. It's been great. I haven't come across any people that have been you know, trying to keep things from happening, you know.
It's not like that Highlander syndrome where it's like it can only be one black person in the room.
No, because I think, you know, the more the better.
Yeah.
Until I'm famous, and then after that, forget about it.
You're not gonna talk to anybody.
Right.
Like, you're
That's
talk.
right.
So, your mom, Ruby Millsap, she's a dancer.
Right.
She's kind of well known in the whole dance world. Do you think that her creativity encouraged you to go into the arts?
I think so. I think, you know, for my father too. They were both, you know, my father is a commercial interior designer. Yeah. My mother is a dancer. You know, and she got her degree at UCLA, you know, a master's in dance. You know, my father is a sculptor now.
Yeah.
They were always very encouraging.
Okay.
They always liked what I did.
Yeah.
Whether it was art related or not, but they seem especially proud now that I've, you know, gone into this part of my life.
So that's you know, so you kind of started doing you started kind of doing your books around like 2011 or something like
2011, yeah.
So like, I mean, why did you all of a sudden you started to do this? Like, why? Like, what happened? What clicked in your head?
I was working at a mid-range manager job,
and
I thought I was going to have to do that forever. And I know I went to art school, you know, to do something with it. And you know, the cartoons, people have always liked the cartoons over the years. And so I made it a concentrated effort than to put a book together and see what would happen.
Okay. No, that's great. I mean, that's great. So like it just happened, and it just
happened. I mean, it was a process that probably took a couple of years.
Yeah.
But when I finally realized what I wanted to do, I knew there was a point that I needed to do something in regards to this, but I didn't know what it was. And then when I was able to put the first book together, My Washcloth Stinks.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, I hope you guys are able to see it. Like and I think that's one thing that's great about you too. You produce all these books, right?
Yeah, they're all self-published. Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, you have My Washcloth. Can you help me?
Oh, there you go.
I stepped on a duck. I hate my job, and my pickle tastes funny. What's a pickle? What are you talking about?
There's a jar of pickles on the cover, and there's just a clown in it. You know.
And I mean, it's such good quality. I mean, I was actually when I first met you, I met you like about 2-3 years ago. I was surprised that it was self-published. Like they're really.
It was very important for me to get it right when I did it.
Yeah.
I know that there's a lot of people out there that want to get books printed and get things done, who. It might not be up to the standard of the ones that you see on the bookshelves in the stores.
Yeah.
But it might be to their standard. But you gotta, you have to, if you want it done, you got to do it right. Mm-hmm. And that was my goal, to make it look like something that would be in a store and better than the ones in the store.
Well, your stuff actually is in stores. It's been like Skylight, like
right.
There's another. It's not that many bookstores left.
Well, yeah, it's in a lot of them, and it's on Amazon.com. BarnesandNoble.com.
Yeah. But
they're actually random stores.
They're actually in physical bookstores and things, and it's kind of like it's
and random
there.
places like Baltimore.
Yeah.
And California.
And I mean, that's the thing too. It's like, I mean, have you ever thought about starting your own like publishing company? I mean, because of course, why not spend more money and spend more money and making no money? How about I think that's a great idea.
It's been a fleeting thought. But the idea of running a company and having sort of other people in it would be a bit much at this time. Mm-hmm. It would take away from the creative process. I have sort of a plan, to put out a series of books and sort of gain a little bit of of a following.
Yeah.
And then maybe I can revisit that later. But right now I want to be creative and sort of look out for myself.
And the thing too, you're like prolific. I mean, you draw a new comic like
3 times a week.
3 times a week,
yeah.
And you've done that since like 2011.
Yeah, well, a little more regular over the past couple of years. Like about the past 2 years, it's been about 3 a week.
Yeah.
Before that, maybe around that, but it wasn't. I'm regular now. I do it on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday.
I've actually never seen someone so like on it in regards to like you have one like every all those 3 days that you're gonna have it. You have it out there and you're ready.
They're all different.
They're all
the time,
different.
Theoretically.
Yeah, I mean, you have like all of this. You have like 5 books of like material that that you can like that you put out there. I mean, when are you gonna get syndicated? Like, I mean, are you actively? I mean, maybe you don't care. Maybe you don't want to do that.
I do. I want as many people to know about it as I can. But my timeline. In my mind, made it the way I thought is that I needed to sort of have an amount to show them.
Okay.
To show that I can produce regularly.
I
didn't have that before. I think I'm to that point now.
Yeah. You do, because you have that's a lot of work right there.
Yeah, and the next one is coming out in February.
Yeah, you do. You have another book coming out. What's the name of that?
The name of that book is called "I Asked for a Fork." So that's
yeah. So it's your whole little comedy thing. That's very.
I asked for a fork. That's right.
And would they bring you?
Oh well, a rock.
They brought you a rock instead.
Yeah, I can take the cover out if you want. Would you like to see it?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Bring the cover out, because I know you have all your product. I have to say, I'm always amazed at the amount of product you have on you.
Just try to make sure that I'm covered.
You make sure you have everything on you. Oh, this right. Go ahead. Oh, good, right here. And this is I hope this is actually coming out because I know it's the kind of shiny thing. I asked for a fork. You're a little.
Ask for a fork.
Yes. So because you got your new for the new it's just pretty funny.
Thank you.
Yeah, because I've seen that. But you're doing all these things, and you also have like a T-shirt. I know. I feel like because you have so many products, so I feel like I have to keep like talking about them. Like I'm like, whoa, you have like this T-shirt stuff that you got going on, and this is my. He brought me this. Sometimes being man's best friend pays off, and it's a dog eating you because really dogs are right here. Higher, okay, all right. Dogs are not as good as cats. They're not loyal. Dogs will eat you and kill you. That's why you should have a cat, because cats are great, right?
Dogs are, for the most part, they're friendlier.
What do you mean?
And they just don't, I mean, neither one are smart. Neither animal is smart. I mean, I guess.
You can get a lot of hate mail from cats and dogs.
I like them both.
You like
them both? Yeah,
okay,
but I'd rather have a triple.
yeah, exactly. So I mean, what's kind of like? Oh, I know you have this thing called God. Gary Omar Dixon.
Right.
So
right.
I mean, when's that coming out?
That's a work that's been in progress for a couple of years, and it's about it's a bunch of cartoons about God and God related things, and in the same vein of my is the humor that I have. So it's not really, it's no religion in it or anything. It's just well, what if God created cows just because he was hungry? Like those kind of things. But
no, that I mean, that's I'm interested. That's why I brought it up. Or
it'll be out sometime.
Gary Omar Dixon.
Gary Omar Dixon is the acronym for God.
Okay.
Right, and that's what his real name is in theory.
Well, I used to like Ralph, like what RTD. I used to call that Ralph Trent Darby. Actually, my friend's older brother was like, "We're gonna give you a ride." I was like, "Oh, we're gonna give us a ride to the mall because the Hawthorne Mall." And he said, "Oh, Ralph Trent Darby." I was like, and we're like, "Who's that?" And he just laughed and just walked away. And then we got, "Oh, RTD."
Yeah, you got on the Ralph Trent Darby.
Yeah, Ralph Trent.
Same thing.
Same thing. So, I mean, are you thinking about? How do you think that the digital world has affected cartooning?
For me, it made it so that I did not have to have a publisher.
Yeah.
I think that's probably one of the best things, and also it makes your work available to anybody. Mm-hmm. I've gotten like fan mail from, like Copenhagen,
mm-hmm.
and that would have never happened without, being online and all that.
Yeah, because that's what people are kind of like saying. Oh, not print not being around might have. I mean, do people think that print not being around will kill cartooning or no? Actually, you know what I noticed? Have you noticed that now you're seeing people draw because it's so easy to take pictures now? Mm-hmm. It's so easy to take pictures. I'm starting to see more people, like more newspapers, have comics or have people drawn.
Really?
Yeah.
I think I think. How they talk about newspapers are dying. I think they're just getting smaller and more varied. Mm-hmm. I think the big ones will hopefully still last.
Mm-hmm.
The same for books and stuff. But the right now the digital age is giving people the opportunity. Anybody can make a book and have it on Amazon if they want to. Mm-hmm. So the cream will rise to the top. Mm-hmm. But any person walking down the street can make a book.
Yeah,
and so if you want to make one and put it on Amazon. You could have a bestseller.
But even just, getting your work out there in regards to being online, you're able to get your work and get kind of exposure without having to be. I mean, do you think that's kind of what prevents you? Because you kind of like maybe inside you kind of want to stay like DIY. You don't really want to be part of that?
I want to have the largest publisher in the United States behind me and send me on a book tour.
Oh, you do?
And
okay,
I want to be on C-SPAN.
You want to be on the Black Girl Show is not good enough for you?
Oh, no, that C-SPAN is number 2.
Let's see. Okay,
yeah,
okay, that's fine.
This is the best.
This is the best show right now. Right. Yeah, because look, I have my whole Halloween makeup on.
I didn't notice.
You didn't notice it? Thank you so much,
That's
Lonnie.
a compliment.
So, I mean, what advice would you give, young comics, or not young comics, I keep on calling, should it be I guess cartoonists, because I keep wanting to say comics.
Yeah.
What advice would you give like young cartoonists or people, maybe not necessarily young, but people who are like, well, I might want to do this. I mean, what should they do?
I would say if you have a talent for it, just to keep doing it, set yourself some time goals on finishing stuff, in regards to creating things, and then maybe compile them. Like set goals with specific times to finish things if that's what you really want to do, instead of saying someday I want to make a book, or someday I want to have a comic or something. Try to figure out when you think it'll be and work toward that goal. And run stuff by people. If you have talent and people are telling you have talent, it's probably true.
And also, too, I think you should tell people the discipline, because I think that a lot of times, especially when you're doing something that's not viewed as serious, people are like, well, you don't have to have discipline.
Right.
But you're pretty disciplined in regards to how you do your thing. So that's like really, I think that's half people's problem. They have no discipline.
It is. I'm very undisciplined in certain things. I think in regards to this, since I have, sort of set deadlines for myself, I just won't let the deadlines pass. So I've never missed posting a cartoon or anything like that. It's what I love to do, and that's the one thing that I'm not going to mess up on. Okay,
because that's so kiddies. Discipline and keep doing what you're and remember, but another thing, what is, I know you go to a lot of Comic Cons, you go to a lot of cons.
Right.
What are some cons that are going to be coming, that you're going to be at, that are coming up?
I will be at Kamikaze actually this weekend. It's in downtown LA at the convention center. And it's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Just a wide cross section of any kind of comics and sort of pop culture things going on. So there'll be stars there. Maybe Stan Lee, I think. It's Stan Lee's Stan Lee's Kamikaze. So
it's Stan Lee's. Okay, so that's why he's going to be there.
He's going to be there. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can go to that or Hello Kitty Con.
Or Hello Kitty Con.
Why aren't you at Hello Kitty Con? Why did you decide to do that one and not the Stan Lee one, not Hello Kitty one?
I've only seen Hello Kitty stickers on cars. I've never seen anything. Is it a TV show? I've never seen.
No, it's not a TV show. Hello Kitty is like the best cartoon ever.
Little kids have mugs with Hello Kitty on them.
Kids grow up and have Hello Kitty. Hello Kitty is a wonderful thing. I'm so excited. Maybe I'll stop by the Stan Lee, whoever that person is. Don't know who Stan Lee is.
I didn't know who he was until 4 years ago.
You know who? I know. Who is this Stan Lee person? So, anything else that you're going to be at? Anything else coming up?
I am going to be at in December. There's a gallery opening or a gallery event that's going to happen, a party for my friend Lisa Brugger, and she's an artist. It's going to be at a place called Blank Space. It's on December 19th. It's on Wilshire and La Brea, I believe, and I will be exhibiting there. So it'll be her, she's the main, and then and me.
Oh wow, that's awesome!
Yeah.
I didn't know about this. This is awesome. I forgot. I didn't go through your whole Facebook page and find everything that you're doing. I'm not prepared.
And then one other thing I have, I believe it's December 7th, and it will be an event with the LA Weekly. I'm exhibiting. I can't remember the exact name of the event, but it's a party that they're having, and I will be sort of an exhibitor mixed in with wine exhibitors and other kind of exhibitors, but I'll be sort of the standout different thing.
So will there be wine there?
I think there's going to be a lot of wine there.
Okay. Yeah. I might be able to make it to that event. Okay. So Lonnie, I would like to thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me
to the Black Grrrl Show, and we really appreciate you sharing all this information, and good luck on your future endeavors.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Alrighty.
Now no one knows where the spirit goes when life has gone away. This I know now that my body lies here in the grave. It's a long road home back to the light. Darkness on my left and right. I lost my way. I lost my way. As the blackbird flies the darker sky, so I must travel on. Sojourn of the undead walking on Babylon. I've roamed from home back alone. Clouds gather where I stand. Some can see my footprints as I cross the desert sand. It's a long road home, back to the light. Darkness on my left
radio, and the
and
staff
right.
and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
It started out like a totally normal day.
I love you.
I mean, I guess I was a little sweaty and I was definitely sore. I thought I had gas. Turns out I was having a heart attack. Heart disease is the #1 killer of American women. So now I take care of myself and tell the other women in my life to do the same. Make it your mission to save your life and the lives of the women you love. Find out more from the American Heart Association at goredforwomen.org.
This is Brett Chapin.
And this is Dorothy Dillingham Blue, inviting you to join us every Saturday at noon Pacific Standard Time for our show, La La Land Talk.
Join us as we talk with some of the top talent in LA. Artists' untold stories, your phone calls, and live on-location broadcasts have made La La Land one of the best sources in LA for everything entertainment.
So don't forget to tune in to La La Land Talk.
Exclusively on latalklive.com.
You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B, Live 365, Radio Flag, and now Stitcher Radio. Or watch and listen directly at latalklive.com.
Saturdays at noon Pacific Time. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/LaLaLandTalk, Twitter, twitter.com/LaLaLandTalk. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live.
And we are more than just talk. I think we've got a Shakespeare monologue or two we could do. Yeah.
Jazz hands.
Kickball change.
Good
That's
stuff.
what I'm saying. Mm-hmm.
I'll do some Pippin.
Ooh, yeah. Some miming. I'm in a box. I'm in a box. I'm in a box.
Hello, I'm Joel Ramirez
And I'm Lolita Robinson Coppage, and welcome to Joy in My House
on LATalkLive.com. Inspirational radio
with a touch of recovery.
A reality show where nothing is left unsaid.
And no one is insignificant who says it.
Exclusively on LATalkLive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B or watch us on Ustream TV.
Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hi, I'm Ro Williams, and I would like to invite you to join GospelRhythms.com every Sunday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our show, GospelRhythms.com Talk Live Radio. Join us as we celebrate Christians around the world in all genres of entertainment, as well as highlight interest stories on men and women who are making a difference and impacting their community. So don't forget to tune in to GospelRhythms.com Talk Live Radio, exclusively on LATalkLive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes under R&B or watch us live on Ustream TV. We are reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is GospelRhythms.com Talk Live Radio on LATalkLive.com. We're more than just talk. We're heaven's party here on earth.
I should have stayed at Margie's where the people are friendly, where the music is warm and the beer is cold. Why did I wander down to the crossroads? No one that likes me, at least that's what
Hello, this is Tika Lark Fleming with MPC presents the Black Grrrl Show. We're back, and the next guest is going to be Skyra Martinez. But before, I want to remind you guys to You can listen and watch us at iTunes R&B and Radio 365 and Ustream. And this is LA Talk Live. So right now we're going to speak with Skyra Martinez. And Skyra has a space in Los Angeles. Well, you actually had several spaces in Los Angeles. Your parents were radicals.
Yes.
How did that impact your life?
How did that impact? Well, it made me what I am.
Yeah.
It shaped my vision of what the world is. And what's possible in the world. And it allowed me to see outside of the box. It allowed me to see what's written on the wall in black and white. And I feel that I'm very lucky to have the parents that I had.
Well, no, I think that you were you had a space in Boyle Heights, Corazon del Pueblo. What did you? How was that space, and what did you learn from having that space?
Corazon del Pueblo is still alive and kicking, and I don't believe it will ever die. It's just too strong. That was a wonderful experience. I came to LA, born here, but left for whatever reasons, and came back. My parents left LA. And I came back as an adult, and within I think 8 days of coming back, I, amongst a few other people, opened the space Corazon del Pueblo, which is still operating, and I learned a lot from that space. I learned everything that I do now is based upon what my parents taught me, but that actual experience of being involved with a lot of other people who have the same frame of mind. And to actually organize within a community, but not just keep it that community, to expand outward.
No, that's kind of what people know you for kind of expanding and kind of trying to go out.
Extremely important.
Yeah. Where did your parents? You said you were born in LA, but where did you guys go after that?
We left LA, we traveled. We left LA, we went to Oregon, we went to Big Sur, we traveled all over the place, and then we settled in Spanish Harlem in New York for a number of years. And then my parents bought some land in Canada. And we spent the summers in Canada building a house in a very remote area. We had a farm, chickens, goats, horses, all that thing. And then spending the winter months, which it's freezing cold in Canada, in the States. And then at one point, we went for the summer to continue building the house and etc. and just decided to stay.
So how does that kind of impact you in regards to dealing with Los Angeles? Because I think a lot of people kind of just assume you're probably an LA native. They assume that which you are, but they assume that you were raised here. But how do you think that impacts you?
For me, I believe that it has helped me have an extremely open mind. And I think it's important to travel, and you don't have to travel physically. You can read to travel. But I think for me, the experience of living in Canada, living in the States in various communities, and then crossing over to Canada in various communities has really opened up what the world is and what it could be for me. It's just, traveling and living outside the box and seeing other cultures and other situations, other cities, other places, other environments is extremely important because it gives you a very holistic sense of what the world is and what's going on in the world.
No, I think that's one. That's just, I don't know. You have this new space in historic South Central Los Angeles, and I think it's important to say it's in South Central.
I always say South Central. I don't give a shit. People always they're like, oh well, is there a safe place to park my car and blah 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 blah. And some people say, you should say you're 7 minutes from downtown. Or you're near USC. But I'm in certain circumstances, I could see where that would benefit me. But on the whole, South Central.
No, because that's actually the location.
And it's very historic. Yeah. And I'm proud of it.
Yeah. And that's, and that's, that's so funny. People try to change the name of things. I'm if it's about geographic location and not about race, then why do you try to change the name of South LA, or you try to turn neighborhoods into South LA just because they become more black?
Listen, the community I live in is amazing. It's a working class community. Families. Hardworking people. Beautiful people.
Yeah.
We have everything within that community, art, culture, everything. However, in the mainstream media, it's just South Central, gangland. And that's cool.
Yeah.
If that's, you know, but I don't buy into that.
Yeah.
And I don't advertise or promote as that.
Yeah.
And I don't try to, most importantly, I don't try to say like, oh, well, I'm, you know, close to downtown, or I'm here, or anything other than South Central. I'm very adamant that I am in South Central, historic South Central. Pacific Railroad like the railroad tracks run through my property, and I'm proud of that.
Yeah, I mean it's a lot of
because that's
history.
the story. There are ranchos on my property that there's still a well across the street from where I am, from the ranchos, and I think that's important to note.
Yeah, and
There's
also
a history.
Exactly, and I think that
it's not just like a gangland.
Exactly, it's not a gangland. It's what we used to call the East Side. There's a part of South LA, and we call it the East Side. And I kind of feel like when people are talking about what South LA is or what South Central is, they're actually talking about the East Side.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not talking about all these areas that have just been attached on, like, you know, Inglewood, Baldwin Hills. You want to say that's Black LA, fine, but don't say that's South Central, because you know where South Central is. It is an actual location. It's not just some random label that people put on people just because there's Black people there. Because South Central, historic South Central, is a multicultural place that has a variety of people, and you know, we were talking
and always has been. I mean, it started with Africans and Mexicans.
Yeah.
That's the beginning point, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's not the beginning point.
Yeah.
Aboriginal people, Native people, Mexican people. But I mean, when it comes to that's the beginning point. So you can't just like try to change it in the middle of shit.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's kind of like what keeps happening. Like, what does Cielo, does that mean anything specifically, or?
Well, Cielo, I mean, the direct translation is sky, which a lot of people say, oh, your name and that, but it actually is a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
And so my philosophy basically is that, you know, we're all connected, and we're all just really connected. And so Cielo embraces like the sky, the whole everything. So for me, my space, I'm open to everybody and anybody, as long as you are fighting for the rights of human beings that we were born with. And so Cielo means sky. And I've had that name since 1984. And so I had a jewelry line that was called that. I had my multimedia art line. I had my photography line. I had so many different things. So it just makes sense that now that I have like an actual space, that it would be called Cielo. And also my father called me Cielo when I was very, very young. And he stopped when I was about 5 or 6, when my parents were divorced. But I kept the name.
You kept the name.
Yeah.
You know, that's I remember I Googled Cielo, and I'm like, why is all this stuff from Canada coming up? Why can't we find your gallery, your studios? All those are you, which is like very, that shows how many lives that Skyra has lived. You lived a variety of lives. I mean, you think if that has, you know, because, you know, you're a mother, you're a gallerist.
4 children.
You know, you've done all kind of things. You've been a photographer. You've been, you know, the child of people on the run. But, you know, I feel like that makes you. Do you think that gives you more depth, or you feel like you can relate to people better, or you think like sometimes you feel?
Definitely. I think it gives me a holistic scope of things, and I think that. You know, I think it's really important that people expand themselves outside of their immediate surroundings and their immediate knowledge and challenge themselves. And I've been lucky that I've lived in different countries, different environments, and I've had the parents that I've had who have consistently taught me to think outside the box. So I think the name Cielo kind of encompasses all of that. And I have had a lot of experience and lived in a lot of different environments, and that's a part of it. It's important. And so the name Cielo is like the sky. People always say, oh yeah, the sky is the limit, because Cielo means sky in Spanish, right? Yeah. But I always say, no, the sky is not the limit.
Yeah, the sky is never ending.
No, it's forever.
Now, let's talk about gentrification. You have a space, and
Yes.
you have a space, and it's kind of like it's in District 9. It's it's in South LA. It's in the part that's by the Expo line and all that stuff. How do you not become part of the problem?
I somewhat learned when I first came here. I started an a little spot called Corazon de Pueblo, which beautiful spot, still alive and kicking in East LA, Boyle Heights.
Yeah.
But one thing I learned is that, I think that it's one of those things where you start a space, and I'm sorry, what was the question?
It wasn't really a question. Are you worried about gentrification?
Well, gentrification. Okay, so I started the space along with other people.
Yeah.
And suddenly, when we started the space, it was like the spot next door.
Yeah.
The rent went up.
Yeah.
Oh, you have a beautiful community cultural center next door. You have, blah, blah, blah. It includes a bookstore, da, 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 da. So in the space where I am now in historic South Central, I've been very careful to, first of all, I've been there 3 years. I spent 2 years there without really like openly, adamantly organizing because I wanted to get to know the community. And so I think an important thing is not to, for example, anybody who comes to my place, they're like, oh, Skyra, your place, like I passed it twice before I found it. It's so nondescript. You don't have any sign. I don't have a sign. I have blank walls on my building. My building is huge.
Yeah.
It's 22,000 square feet. It's massive.
Yeah.
Half a block.
Yeah.
And you can pass by it without seeing it.
Yeah.
A lot of people come and they say, Skyra, build a mural, put a sign up, do all this and that. And I'm like, with gentrification right around the corner, because I'm like about 6 minutes from downtown.
Yeah,
LA,
you're right by.
I'm right there.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if I do all that shit, it's just going to turn into like this whole big thing where everybody knows where it is and all the artists come and all the, like we live that. Like I said, I was born in Venice Beach.
Yeah.
And when I was born in Venice Beach in the 60s,
yeah.
it was where all the poor artists live. It was nothing.
Yeah.
We had Jim Morrison living 2 doors down from where I was born. When I was born, he was right there.
Yeah.
We had all these things. And it turned into like, now it's multi-million-dollar homes. So it seems to me wherever artists go, it just kind of automatically becomes gentrified. So I've tried to be really low-key. My building is nondescript. There's no murals outside. There's no sign. There's no, and I'm very, I advertise and I promote, but I'm kind of low key and discreet at the same time. I don't go out of my way to like be like big.
Yeah.
Because I know what happens with that. And I try to include the people who live in the community. So the first 2 years, so Cielo it's where I live.
Yeah.
And it's where I work first. It's my home.
Yeah.
The whole building / gallery / warehouse is where I live.
Yeah.
And it's also where I work. And I open up for convergences and meetings and art-related situations. But at the same time, I'm very aware of the community around me. So I don't try to openly make this big deal where people come in and start cleaning the community. Because just like steps away, like 6 steps away from me is like a little mini tent city.
Yeah.
And I know if I put a big bright sign and like bring all these people over, all that's going to disappear. And as far as I'm concerned, those people in Tent City, 2 steps away from me, that's my community.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my people.
Yeah.
And they have first rights in my space.
Yeah.
In our space.
Well, I think that's the one thing that's so great about your space. And you're open to all kind of people. I remember the first time I went to your space, you're just like, hi, how are you? I'm like, you don't even know who I am.
I probably hugged you and mauled you for a bit.
Yeah. It was like, but I mean, that's great. Because I mean, that's so, that doesn't always happen, especially in bigger cities. Especially when somebody has kind of like this, you have this thing. And you really truly are like, an open person, a radical person. I mean, and you kind of open up the space for people of color. I mean, like, what are the
most definitely.
Yeah. And what do you think the challenges are being a gallerist, what do you think your challenges are for Black women, for Latinas? Like, what do you think et cetera, whatever, everybody, who do you think the challenges are in Los Angeles or just in America, the U.S., in regards to art and just getting our stuff out there?
I can't really say I'm, I'm a sort of a newbie in that scene, and being as that I was born here but then raised in Canada and came back. But I will say that I feel that here in the U.S., and other places too, I feel that there's too much emphasis on like white approved places, places that are like legitimized, by others. Yeah. And I feel like, they're fucking chasing our shit. Yeah. And it's like a constant thing where I just feel that we need to be who we are and openly express who we are. And we shouldn't hide. We don't need to hide. We shouldn't hide. It's very important not to hide.
And also too, to have our space and to kind of be not to have it that it has to be validated by
no,
white
it doesn't have to be
institution.
validated by anybody. And I have an art gallery in my space.
Yeah.
I have a big stage. I have, it's a huge space. But there's so many people who I think would see the space and be like, well, who knows you? Where have you publicized? Like, how big are you? What do you? And all those questions are based on like white approval. And I don't buy into that. So if there's any Black folks out there who want to like organize, get down, show their work, do some shit, come speak to me. But be prepared to know that I'm not like a white authorized, white approved space. I don't buy into that. Look at the Harlem Renaissance. We've talked about this.
Yes, exactly.
Do our shit.
Yeah.
People will come, and we don't even need them to come.
Yeah, that's the whole thing too. We don't, we
can do our own shit.
We have
we
so
don't
many
need
people.
that.
Yeah, we don't need that approval. We don't need that. And because it's about art. It's not about. It's like, do you want to be a commercial?
It's
do you
about
want to sell
art.
a product?
It's about social art organizing. It's about a holistic view of things, but at the same time, it's about standing your own ground, being yourself, and showing who you are, and not letting other people determine who you are and say like, well, in order to be out there and to get approval, you have to be this or jump through these hoops. So at my space, there's no hoops. Yeah, there's just no hoops.
Yeah, you just gotta show up at the door.
Yeah, you just gotta come and talk your shit. And if you are trying to make the world a better place, and if you are trying to fight for the basic rights that we all have, which is, for example, housing, water, which is a big thing now. Yeah. Which I'm happy to see that water is like a big thing now, because that brings the wheels in motion. But then come to my space, because it's a space for you.
No, I mean, yeah, and another interesting aspect about you is that you're you're actually like a good businesswoman. Like, you're an artist, but I mean,
I owe that to my mother.
Yeah, you're a businesswoman. I mean, you understand that you can't just be loosey goosey, just do something. You have to actually have a plan. You have to follow through. You have to be consistent. That's a theme today. You could be an artist, and
unfortunately, and I don't think it's going to last long, because with automation and everything that's going on, we don't have to rely on money and all those things too much longer. But I really do believe that shouldn't be a barrier. It shouldn't be a barrier, and it's really sad that it is. And I want to offer a space where financial situations are not a barrier, because that has been our downfall for so long.
Especially
financially,
Black
we don't have a place to like show our artwork. We don't have a place to do this. Black artists in LA, if you want a place to show your work, contact me. It could happen.
I mean, that's
and it's very simple. It could happen in historic South LA.
Yes, and I'm surprised that, like, I mean, there are people who are kind of like coming to your space and all that stuff, but you have to be open minded, and you have to actually want to do art. Like, that's the whole thing. You have to be for art and not for just.
You have to be for art, but you have to be for art that speaks to the holistic situation that we're in. I'm a radical person, and I embrace that word wholeheartedly. So if you are someone who wants the world to be a better place, if you are fighting for the basic rights that we all have, which is like water, housing, like all those things, then my space is for you, because that's really what I'm fighting for, is the basic human rights that we are all born with, we are being deprived of. And I think that art is a powerful weapon in educating people and in fighting.
It's one of the most powerful weapons. I mean,
Yes.
you have
in so many forms.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
so many forms of that weapon. It's not like you have one AKA. You have like AK1, which is like visual art. You have AK2, which is like spoken word. You have like AK. I mean, there's so many versions of that one weapon that is so powerful. And the bottom line is that we are, it's the whole thing, like 99% and 1%, but it's true.
Yeah.
Like the people who are fighting for not just like, oh, I want this, I want that, but water, food, a home that won't be repossessed.
I mean,
those are basic life. Those are basic human rights. And we're all fighting for that. And one thing about my space is that I invite all people who are invited. I don't care what color you are. I don't care where you were born. I don't care anything. You need to come to my space. But at the same time, I think that black people of color, are exceptionally and especially welcome in my space, for sure. Because that's as far as I'm concerned, that's where the fight starts. Because we have this whole group of middle class people, who have like been in a really good place for a long time, and now they've like fallen down to where we are, or at least where I am.
Yeah.
And they're turning to me and they're like, yap, 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 yap. And I'm like, poof, poof, poof. I'm slapping people and shit. Seriously, Tika, I'm slapping people. And I'm saying, hey, you just arrived. I've been here, and my ancestors and my people have been here for like 400, 500 years. Do the math, whatever. But a long time, and you've just arrived. You're not telling me anything new.
Yeah, and that and not saying that Occupy, but it's kind of like a lot of times people are like, oh yeah, the people have no money and the police are beating us. Really? We already kind of told you that. But I mean, I'm glad that people are figuring it out.
Yeah, and it's good that people are figuring it out. But at the same time, don't try to fucking control the shit.
Yeah, don't try to
don't try to control it. Don't try to run things.
Yeah.
Because you're just falling into the same steps the oppressors have always falling into.
Don't try to be the head of the king of the oppressors.
No. And don't try to tell us
the king of the oppressed.
Don't try to tell us what it is.
Yeah.
Because we know.
Yeah, exactly.
We've known long before you knew.
And because you have gone out there and put yourself out there, you have a trial pending.
I do.
But you can't really talk about this now.
And I have a trial pending. It's been going on for over a year now. It was a year in July, I believe.
Yeah.
And LAPD is probably not happy with me.
Yeah.
I bet a lot of people don't know it, but I've been going through a lot of bullshit with them for the past, it's been a year in July, so it's like a year and whatever. I'm anxious to talk about it, and I will when it's over. But LAPD is the biggest gang in LA. Yes. And we have a few, but they're the biggest gang. And they've actually, I would go as far as to say that they have upped the ante and gone into a death squad. That's how serious shit is. But yeah,
no, I believe
I'm going
that.
through that.
I don't think people understand the
and
level.
not to say that there's not some. There is definitely a light. I mean, as bad as things get.
Yeah.
I think that it's good. American people need to be pushed to the wall. Because we're so we're like sheep. And smoke screens, we just run for, there's a smoke screen, let's go and see what it is. But the fact of the matter is that we need to open our eyes. And I think that a lot of things that are going on now are like actually making a lot of people open their eyes, and the middle class has come down a few notches.
Quite a few notches.
And that does make a difference. It really does. It really does. Although they won't predict and rule and be the number one people who say how we go from here, because they just arrived. Like I said, they need to step behind and take our lead, because we're actually experts We're experts.
I thought Skyra said she was shy and couldn't talk, but that is like.
I had a glass of wine.
Is there anything going on in your space like that's coming up?
Yes. On the 1st, we have a bunch of youth from the age of like 8 to 18 making altars, which are honoring our ancestors and stolen lives. And we have the book fair coming up, which is the Black Girl Book Fair, which is going to be off the hook.
It
is an annual thing.
Yes.
This is the first one.
Yes.
Get on board while you can.
Yes,
because
right.
this is the first one.
Get on the train. And we're going to leave you.
And we have the Anarchist Book Fair. The date hasn't been set, but it's going on. And there's an art exhibit with my friend Carlos from Mexico who's coming. He's doing a show called Stolen Biographies. He's a great, amazing photographer, and there's just so many things. I mean, I'm on Facebook. Look up Cielo Gallery /Studios, and you'll see a number of things that are going on.
Well, thank you so much, Skyra. You were awesome. That will be it for the Black Girl Show. Next week, we're going to actually have the owner of a black comic book store that's just opening up in Highland Park.
Woo woo!
Yeah, it's amazing. And then we're gonna have Turner Lange, who's also who's also a cartoonist. So wow, we're gonna kind of continue this theme. You can follow us on Twitter at The Black Girl Show, or use the hashtag Black Girl BLKGRRRL for our chats on Wednesdays. This is Tika Lark Fleming. MPC presents The Black Girl Show. Thank you so much, Richard, and thank you so much, Skyra, and thank you, Lonnie, and thanks everybody, and thank LA Talk Live, and I will see you next Thursday.
Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. You're tuned in to LA Talk Live, where we're more than just talk.